Greetings, YouTube. The Doctor is in. Dr. Urius Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And today we are going to talk about the spell Stoneskin. That is, we are going to talk about the 2024 version of Stoneskin. We're going to compare and contrast it to the Legacy version, which is what I have up here. And we're going to look at a Advanced Dungeons and Dragons version. We're going to look at 2nd edition and 3rd edition. We're not going to look at 4th edition. And then we're going to look at all of them and see how this spell has changed. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. All right. So we have this Legacy version up here from the 2014. It was a 4th level spell. It required concentration. It was 1 action, range of touch. So you could cast it on other creatures, verbal, somatic, and material component. The material component was absolutely ridiculous. It was diamond dust worth 100 gold pieces, which was consumed by the spell. It lasted for an hour, turned the flesh of the willing creature you touch as hard as stone, and until the spell ends, the target had resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So back in the day, we gave this spell a D+. And I mainly gave it a really terrible score because 1, magical attacks didn't do anything. And 2, it cost 100 gold pieces every time you cast this spell. Now, this stuff here, I don't necessarily like all this. They need to clean this up on D&D Beyond. Now, all this legacy stuff, and I know it's like automatically reflecting from what is on D&D Beyond, but this is starting to get pretty messy. All right, so let's look at the new version. This is the 2024 version. It did get a little bit of an upgrade in the wording, not very much. So it's still a 4th level spell, still 1 action, still requires concentration. It still costs 100 gold pieces, which I just don't get. This is not that great of a spell, and it requires gold pieces. Now, this one, it still lasts for an hour too. So until the spell ends, 1 willing creature you touch has resistance. Just flat out resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Just flat out resistance now. So that's magical and non-magical attacks, but it still costs 100 gold pieces per casting. All right, so that's all well and good. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this up to just a straight C. There are definitely other 4th level spells that I would rather prepare and use than this one. It is usable by a whole bunch of different classes. So Paladins, Oath of Conquest, and Oath of Redemption, and Oath of Ancients. Artificers can use it. A Paladin's not going to be using this until really high level. Artificers are not going to be using this, I think it's 13th level. Druids, they'll be using this at 7th level. Rangers, again, 13th level. Sorcerers and wizards can use this. They can use this at 7th level. Now, let's take a look, because I have up here. So Stoneskin, this is the 1985 Unearthed Arcana. And Stoneskin appeared for the first time in this book. So it wasn't in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook, but it was in the Unearthed Arcana that came out about 7 years later. So the Player's Handbook came out in 1978. This came out in 1985, both written by Gary Gygax. And I just want to kind of go through this so you can see how this spell has changed over time. So 4th level spell, range of touch, so you could affect a creature with it. It had a verbal, somatic, and material component. The material component of this is granite and diamond dust sprinkled on the recipient's skin. Now, it didn't say how much that diamond dust was worth, but you still had to get diamond dust. So it's still a very expensive spell. And then when you cast this, the creature gained a virtual immunity to attack by a cut, blow, projectile, or the like. Talks about swords of sharpness. So fireballs, magic missiles, lightning bolts, all that stuff will still affect them. So any attack or sequence of attacks from a single opponent dispels the Dwarmer, although it makes the creature immune to that single attack or attack sequence. So when they say attack sequence in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, you did 1 attack or multiple attacks, depending on your level. So that could be, 3 attacks in a round. So that's what that attack sequence is. And then if it's a relatively soft weapon, such as a monk's hand or a fist, it'll inflict some damage, but it won't get rid of the protection from the Stoneskin. So the Stoneskin in this instance negated an attack or a couple of attacks in an attack sequence, and then it was gone. So it still cost you something. It just doesn't say what. Now, this shows back up again in the second edition player's handbook. So here it is. It's still a 4th level spell too. So it's always been a 4th level spell. That kind of carried over. This one's range of touch again affects one creature. Verbal and somatic and material component, which is granite and diamond dust again. So it doesn't say how much that diamond dust costs. And when you cast this spell, the affected creature gains virtual immunity. Basically the same language from the Unearthed Arcana as this, except the spell blocks 1 to 4 attacks plus 1 attack per 2 levels of experience the caster has achieved. So minimum you were 7th level to cast this spell. So if you were 8th level, then it could do 4 attacks plus a d4, and then you would just forget those. The limit applies regardless of attack rolls and regardless of whether the attack was physical or magical. For example, a Stoneskin cast by a 9th level wizard would protect against 5 to 8 attacks. That's 4 plus the 1d4. An attacking griffin would reduce the protection by 3 each round. 4 magic missiles would count as 4 attacks, so it protects against apparently magic missiles, even though it says magic attacks from magic missiles and so forth have their normal effects. So it would protect against a certain number of attacks. I think when it's talking about the griffin is if that griffin hit 3 times. So again, we see here in 2nd edition that we did have the diamond dust, but now instead of in the Unearthed Arcana from a single attack or sequence of attacks, they bumped this up, they gave it a buff, and now it is a number of attacks based on the level of the caster plus 1d4. Now in the player's handbook for 3.5, it was a sorcerer wizard 4th level spell, and it was strength 6, which was like domain of strength for clerics, or earth 6, which was a domain for clerics. It was also a druid spell. It verbal, somatic, and material component, and this one was granite and 250 gold pieces worth of diamond dust sprinkled on the target's skin. It lasted for 10 minutes per level or until discharged. There was some kind of saving throw for it, and there was spell resistance on it, and you could do it on creature with touch. So it would ward the creature. The subject gained damage reduction 10 adamantine, which means if you didn't have an adamantine weapon, it would reduce the damage by 10. It ignores the first 10 points of damage each time it takes damage from a weapon, though an adamantine weapon bypasses the reduction once the spell has prevented a total of 10 points of damage per caster level up to 150, it's gone. So they changed this in 3.5 so that it did damage reduction instead of just negated a number of attacks. Then when we go back to 5th edition and 2024, now it gives resistance, which is half damage. Now, Stoneskin, for the most part with this, even though it's non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing in the legacy version, most creatures didn't do magical damage. So this would be pretty effective against just about everything. The diamond dust in this one, 100 gold pieces, and in the 2024 version, the 100 gold pieces, was less than this. So I will give them that. Although 2nd edition and the Unearthed Arcana Advanced Dungeons & Dragons version don't actually define how much that is. So, again, these are pretty good spells. It wasn't the greatest spell in the world. It still isn't the greatest spell in the world. I would go with other spells, so we're still going to give it a C. All right, that is what I have for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody